Over the past 3 years, we have watched Honda completely transform their lineup and also improve their brand identity overall to a wider range of consumers. Because when you look back on the last 20 years for Honda, their vehicles have been very conventional. They're practical, they're reliable, they're comfortable, but not too edgy at all. But 2023 has certainly been a stark difference, especially since the Type R badge has returned for 2 generations for the Civic, which I think has brought back a lot of old-time enthusiasts, but also younger ones as well. But also the new CR-V has been redesigned to a point where I think it's making a bold statement in the compact crossover market. And today, I'm sitting next to the 2023 Honda Pilot TrailSport, a vehicle that's now rugged, durable, but also cool as well, where you have a nicer design, more of an aggressive look, but also I love the color as well that we have here today, where it does pop, it draws your attention, and I have to tell you, a number of people who have driven through this parking lot have stopped and stared at this vehicle, and I think for a very good reason. In this video, we're gonna go over everything. We're gonna take an in-depth look at the interior, the exterior, go out for a test drive with the TrailSport, and also see why, if you are looking at buying a 3-row crossover, regardless of whether it is rugged and off-road worthy or a vehicle that you're just going to be using as your daily commuter, I think the TrailSport is going to be the one-stop shop in this segment for you, but also a vehicle that I think is one of the best we've ever seen from the Honda brand in the modern age. Now, before we get into this video, I want to give a huge shout and thank you to Honda North in Danvers, Massachusetts for allowing me to do this review. Their link will be in the description below, so you can check out their extensive Honda inventory. Also, before we get started, make sure to hit the subscribe button and click the notification bell so you're notified every time a new video goes live on the channel. And so, without wasting any further time, let's get right in this review. In recent years, we've seen Honda gradually evolve to appeal to the growing demand of sporty and outdoorsy crossovers, with the return of the Passport and the expansion of the TrailSport nameplate. Now in 2023, as the entire lineup is going through a substantial overhaul, the 2023 Honda Pilot is turning heads for all the right reasons, as it's a more capable vehicle than in the past, as it can wear many hats by being family-friendly but also adventurous. In a crowded market, Honda has always fared well amongst rivals, but this generation for the Pilot puts everyone on notice, as they've introduced a versatile vehicle that just might be multidimensional to entice a wide range of buyers. Starting off with pricing, the Honda Pilot TrailSport comes in at just over $48,000, being placed as the mid-tier trim for the lineup, but is arguably the most highly anticipated and desired model for 2023. For this generation, the TrailSport name carries weight, where it's not just a unique or special edition trim, and in fact, it's better equipped to handle the outdoors and terrain besides pavement, while also setting the bar for what a rugged 3-row crossover should be. Compared to last year, the Pilot grows in length by 3 inches, and receives a sleeker and sporty roofline that resembles the Acura MDX it shares platforms with. Specifically for the TrailSport, it will sit 1 inch higher than other trims, to have a ground clearance of 8.3 inches, with skid plates added to the undercarriage to inspire confidence when going off-road. It should also be worth mentioning that the Pilot has a towing capacity of 5,000 pounds to further entice owners to set off on weekend adventures. While Honda's primary intention with this crossover is to appeal to those who have active and outdoor lifestyles, they didn't throw on an egregious amount of plastic cladding except for where it was deemed necessary, most notably around the wheel arches. The color contrasting accents from gloss black to the subtle brushed aluminum strip found on the bumper seamlessly integrates into the front fascia, and better yet, there are active side air curtains, which is a pleasant surprise, as fake grills are often used in this market. For 2023, the Pilot will have full LED headlights for a modern look, with fog lights mounted below to help illuminate the trails. And as you'll discover both on the outside and inside, the TrailSport badge makes its presence known on the gloss black grille. Moving over to the side profile, this model will be sitting on 18-inch alloy wheels wrapped in all-terrain tires, to complement the off-road tuned suspension. Ride quality is impressive considering its ruggedness, leading us to believe that other trims for the Pilot are even more plush, comfortable, and family-friendly. And later on, we'll showcase the insulation and sound deadening to see if you can live with the all-terrain tires on a daily basis. You'll have gloss black power folding side mirrors with turn signal indicators to go along with blind spot detection for added safety. Then coming around to the back, this is where the Pilot may have changed the most, as the front fascia has taken styling cues from past generations. Specifically for the TrailSport, the way in which it sits is a departure from the pedestrian and unassuming design compared to last year. But more importantly, it has the appearance of an SUV built on a body-on-frame chassis from certain angles, especially the way in which Honda molded the C-pillar. The new taillights and gloss black trim pieces does add a lower profile look to this crossover, while the aggressive cladding for the rear bumper reinforces the notion that this Pilot is designed to get dirty and explore the paths less traveled. Under the hood, the Pilot is powered by a 3.5-liter naturally aspirated V6 engine, producing 285 horsepower and 262 pound-feet of torque, and is now paired with a 10-speed automatic transmission. Much like its cousin, the Acura MDX, this three-row crossover brings a sense of refinement and quality that should suit many buyers, as its compliance and competence when accelerating on the highway and its relaxed and composed demeanor when cruising on back roads counterbalances its off-road capabilities quite well. Also now with the 10-speed automatic, the Pilot will feel more responsive than the outgoing model, despite power gains being very minimal. For the drivetrain, the TrailSport will come equipped with all-wheel drive standard, and for fuel economy, you're looking at right around 18 miles per gallon in the city and 23 miles per gallon on the highway. Stepping inside, as we've experienced with the CR-V and Civic, the interior has been reshaped and improved to reflect the price point in which the Pilot competes in, while at the same time using materials that would be expected for a rugged crossover. The driver and front passenger will be greeted by power-adjustable and heated leatherette trim seats, with the driver's side being two-position memory for added convenience. Bringing a unique personality, the TrailSport badge is embroidered in the headrests, setting this trim apart from the rest of the lineup. In front of you will be a heated steering wheel, and by using the buttons mounted on the left side of the wheel, you can customize and scroll through this digital information display, which takes up half the instrument cluster, and this setup is commonly found in other Honda models as well. But if you're looking for a little more tech, the Elite will be equipped with a full digital display. Then moving over to the infotainment system, you'll have a 9-inch touchscreen with wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto compatibility. To receive onboard navigation and the upgraded Bose sound system, you will have to opt for the Touring or Elite. For buyers not looking for the most tech-filled experience, they'll enjoy the simplicity of this head unit, as the home and back buttons, along with the volume knob and tuning, are perfectly placed closest to the driver. Resolution and responsiveness are certainly on par with rivals, especially for the numerous camera angles to choose from when parking or on the trails, as all off-road modes automatically activate your front-facing and top-view cameras, and will stay on as long as you're traveling below 15 miles an hour. For both the front and rear, you have a 180-degree view with trajectory, improving the maneuverability of this crossover. Also, since this Pilot is a 3-row vehicle, Honda added a key feature for buyers with families. So just like we've seen for a lot of 3-row crossovers in 2022 and 2023, the Honda Pilot now offers cabin talk. When you press cabin talk, you now have the ability to talk through the speakers so that people in the second and third rows can hear you clearly. This is a great feature to have, especially if you do have a family, but also since the Pilot TrailSport is an adventurous vehicle, your friends can hear you as well on those longer trips, and also when you do have the windows down, enjoying the nice summer breeze. Below, you'll find the buttons and dials for your 3-zone climate control and 3-level heated seats. Then making our way to the center console, the TrailSport comes standard with a wireless phone charging pad. but you'll also receive a USB-C and USB input and 12-volt outlet. Between the front seats, you'll have the drive mode selector, hill descent control, and auto start-stop. Then taking a look at the center storage compartment, you'll have plenty of room for smaller items. And in fact, you could probably fit bottled drinks from a vending machine in this cubby. And rounding out the front seating area, above will be a panoramic moonroof to let in a lot of natural light to the interior. Now moving on to the second row, we're going to start off on the passenger side. And this seat has been adjusted all the way back for demonstrational purposes. And I have a lot of legroom here. Now you probably heard me at the beginning of this video talk about how this generation Pilot is 3 inches longer than the outgoing model. And that length difference translates to the interior, as second row passengers get 2.5 more inches of room than last year. And that's a substantial difference for a vehicle of this size in its segment, because for a lot of 3-row crossovers, it is blurring the lines, because you could make the argument that it's not really family friendly, especially since the third row seats aren't going to be that usable. But for the 2023 Pilot, that's a completely different story, as you can have average size adults sit in the second row, and as we're going to find out later on, in the third row, you can have smaller adults sit back there comfortably as well. Now, with the TrailSport, captain chairs do come standard, and on other trims, you can get bench seats with the center seat being removable. Now, if that sounds familiar, it's because the MDX also gives you that same ability, and the MDX and Pilot are closely related. Now, when it comes to headroom, you have plenty of it, even with the panoramic moonroof. Also, you don't need to worry about hitting your head on the headliner at all. Also, of course, since we don't have a center seat on this model, plenty of shoulder room as well, so no one is going to be complaining about being claustrophobic. Then on the driver's side, this seat is adjusted a bit further up, and as you can tell, a bit more cramped here, but I'm just doing this to showcase the fact that the second row seats can slide on rails. You can move them forwards and backwards to give third row passengers a bit more legroom, but also if you do have a taller driver and taller front passenger, people in the second row can slide backwards to get a bit more legroom. But overall, this is fantastic to see. Also, of course, these second row seats do recline as well. That was a bit of a jolt there. So when your driver is dealing with the horrible other commuters out there on the roadways these days, you can just recline, maybe take a nap, and have no care in the world. Also back here, you do get 2 rear air vents to go along with climate control, 2 USB inputs, a 2-pronged outlet, also sunshades for people in the second row, which is great when the sun is beaming down, or maybe you want to have a bit more privacy. And also on both door panels, you do have 2 cup holders, so that way if you just made a quick trip to McDonald's or Burger King, you can put your drinks right there and they won't slide around at all when you are on a spirited drive. And finally, taking a look at the third row, just for reference, I am around the height of 5'5", so not the tallest adult out there. However, I probably am closer to the size of people who will be sitting in the third row. And to be completely honest, this really isn't that bad. I adjusted the seat all the way back on the rails, and my knees are not hitting the second row seat in front of me, which is great to see. Now, of course, I am a bit more cramped, but this is certainly doable if I was forced to sit in the third row. If a friend of mine owned one of these vehicles, I probably wouldn't be complaining. Also, even though these seats are bolted to the floors, I'm not really sitting in a ball form, so I'm not going to be complaining about sore knees or really feeling any of that pain or getting fatigued sitting back here on a 2 or 3 hour longer drive. When you compare this to its closest rivals, and I'm thinking the Subaru Ascent, also the Toyota Highlander, or even a Volkswagen Atlas, this is going to be more conducive for a family, not only for people who have smaller children who always sit in the third row, but also you can have average size adults sit back here as well, and I think they will be comfortable, especially if you slide these seats just a bit more up on those rails. But this is one thing that I think is a huge standout and maybe will be overlooked for the 2023 model, but for a vehicle in this market, this is definitely an eye-opener for sure. Also back here, you will have 2 cup holders on both sides of the third row and a USB input. Now coming around to the back, you will receive a power liftgate on the TrailSport. And inside, behind the third row seats, you're looking at right around 22.5 cubic feet of room. Now, if that's not class leading, it's very close to being on top in this segment. This is definitely better than what we see from the Volkswagen Atlas, also the Subaru Ascent, and other close rivals in this price range. Now, I was able to fit all my camera gear today, no problem. So that's 2 bags of camera gear, a gimbal box, and a tripod. But most importantly, this is usable space if you are going on a road trip with the family or you're going to go off-road with some good friends. You'll be able to fit some luggage with you, but also if you are grocery shopping or running errands, you can definitely do that as well, even when the third row seats are up. Then on the left side of the rear cargo area, you will have a cubby for some smaller items, such as water bottles, car detail equipment, or maybe even a first aid kit. But even better, for the amount of storage you have behind the third row seats, you also have another storage compartment beneath the floor mat, where you could probably fit some smaller bags or flatter bags, and that just gives you so much more versatility than what we see from rivals in this segment. Also, if you are wondering where the spare tire is, that is mounted beneath the vehicle. Now, with the third row seats full, you can have plenty of room here. Now, I don't have the official figures on the day that I'm filming this review, but I will overlay that over my B-roll footage, so that way you have a better idea of what you can fit back here. But if you are just using the Pilot as a 2-row crossover, you'll be able to fit tent equipment, skis and snowboards, and anything else you might be using when you are going to the mountains, or maybe you're going on some outdoor adventure. But this is really great to see, because the Pilot, whether it is the TrailSport, the Elite, or any other trim level for 2023, this is very practical and also a vehicle that you're going to want to have on a daily basis because of its interior dimensions. And then finally, with the second row seats folded, you're going to have a whopping 114 cubic feet of room. Since the third and second row seats fold flat, you'll probably be able to sleep back here if you are camping and you don't want to be outside with all the bugs and mosquitoes. Now, not equipped on this Pilot today, there are the indentations for your rear cargo cover, which will keep all your valuable items out of sight. So if you are like me and you have camera gear or anything else that's irreplaceable, you can leave them back here and have that peace of mind knowing that no one will be able to peek in and steal what you have. And then once you're done, just press the button and the liftgate will close automatically. So we're now behind the wheel of the 2023 Honda Pilot TrailSport. Let's take this vehicle out for a test drive. Let's see how it performs, how it handles, how it drives, how it compares to rivals that are out there, but also how it compares to last generation, and if this is a nice upgrade over your CR-V you currently own, or maybe your last generation Pilot. So, as I'm leaving the dealership lot, I just want to say this. After spending about 3 to 4 hours with this vehicle already, I'm thoroughly impressed with what Honda has done to this crossover, because yes, it looks fantastic from the outside, but the interior really matches the price point, especially at around $50,000. So let's see what this vehicle is made of as we take it out on the roadways. All right, we're going to be getting on the highway here, so I've put it in sport mode. Has a very nice sound to it. The 3.5 liter naturally aspirated V6 sings quite well. Nice responsive brakes. And the handling and cornering ability. The steering is light, actually a bit lighter than the CR-V, but there is some feedback in the corners. But also, more importantly, you're going to have the confidence as you are getting on the highway, or maybe even taking on some of the back roads up in the mountains and the hills if you are somebody that does go skiing and snowboarding this time of year. Has a nice pickup to it. Now, it's not a barnstormer by any means. It's not going to be an athletic vehicle, because with the higher ground clearance and the off-road tuned suspension, it's going to have not the lower center of gravity that you might find in a sporty SUV or crossover, but that's not what this vehicle is designed to do. In fact, it's a crossover that's going to give you a lot of capability and durability, and a vehicle that is going to be suitable for all weather applications, whether you do deal with snow during the winter or you're somebody that likes going on the trails during the summer. So I am traveling at highway speeds at around 65 miles an hour, and I'll remain silent for a few seconds so that way you get an idea of the road noise at highway speeds. Honestly, even with the all-terrain tires, it's not that bad when it comes to the outside noise. there's really not a lot of road noise entering the cabin. In fact, I'm hearing more of the V6, which I have absolutely no problem with at all. What I love about this vehicle too is it has a 10-speed automatic transmission, so the gear shifts are very smooth and they are responsive, which is exactly what you want to see for a vehicle in this segment. Now, I will say this, compared to some of the rivals out there like the Nissan Pathfinder, Subaru Ascent, Toyota Highlander, I think you can also throw in the 4Runner as well with the TrailSport and others, this does feel very well composed on the roadways, and also, of course, unlike the Subaru Ascent, it doesn't have that pesky CVT. So you are going to enjoy your time behind the wheel. But also another thing too is that even though these seats are not genuine leather, they're very supportive. There's a lot of comfort there. They're not aggressively bolstered, but that's not what you would expect for a crossover in this market. But honestly, I wouldn't be complaining on a 2.5 to 3 hour drive at all. Now, when it comes to front vision, you have plenty of it. A-pillars are somewhat aggressive, which might create a bit of a blind spot as you approach intersections and red lights, so keep that in mind, but it's not too bad or too obscene. Then taking a look at your side mirrors, they are placed in a great spot. They're also decently sized, so I can see what's my blind spots. And then looking out back, even though the third row seats are up and the headrests are up, I can see everything that's immediately behind me, so you're gonna have a lot of vision to work with. Then looking over your shoulder, the B-pillars are very aggressive in this vehicle, which does add to the safety that the Pilot is offering for 2023. We're gonna see what the pickup is like from a stop. And we're already at the speed limit. Now, at 45 miles an hour, you don't really hear a lot of that road noise at all, which I think has a lot to do with the acoustic glass that Honda is using for the TrailSport. So it's very well refined, but also very well insulated as well. Now, there's a few things I want to point out about the TrailSport and the Pilot in general, and hopefully I do get my hands on another trim later on in the year. With the 10-speed automatic transmission, you're going to have crisp and responsive gear shifts where you're not going to get thrown back in your seat. There's also no lack of refinement with this vehicle, especially when you are in heavy acceleration situations. It feels very much like the Acura MDX in that regard, and this platform to me is really a sweet spot for Honda, just because it has the ability to give you the off-road worthiness, but also it has the rigidity and the suspension softness that makes it a great family-friendly crossover as well. With the off-road 2 suspension, I'm going over the bumps and imperfections and I barely feel them, which is exactly what I wanted to see, because I was very concerned about the TrailSport and wondering, is this a vehicle that's going to be conducive for a lot of Americans? Are people going to wonder, did I make a mistake by not choosing a different trim? But with the TrailSport, you're getting that sportier design, you're getting that aggressive look, but also you're getting a vehicle that is capable, but is not really taking away from the comfort that you're looking for in a market at around $50,000. In fact, this feels very much like other vehicles in this segment, and dare I say, it feels like the Subaru Ascent or Nissan Pathfinder, and that's why I think the TrailSport and just the Pilot in general is going to be a home run hit for Honda. The question that does come up is, am I going to feel uncomfortable being behind the wheel if I currently own a CR-V? Now, the TrailSport is 3 inches longer for this year compared to last generation, and you do feel that, especially when you look out back. But comparing this back to a CR-V, you are going to notice there's a lot more width to this vehicle. So you have plenty of shoulder room, but also when you are on the roadways, there is a bit of apprehension there. When there's a vehicle coming at me, it's like, am I getting too close to the side of the road? But honestly, this vehicle is very maneuverable because of the lighter steering. And I understand why Honda did that, because at the beginning of this test drive, I'm like, all right, the steering is rather light compared to the CR-V. And I thought that Honda was moving in this direction of being more of a Euro styling vehicle, especially when it comes to the driving experience, whereas the Pilot is a bit different. And as this CR-V approaches me, they're a bit concerned as well due to the size of the TrailSport. It's maneuverable, so it has the agility to get out of its own way, and I think that's going to give a lot of buyers confidence when they are on city streets with this vehicle. So ultimately, is the 2023 Honda Pilot TrailSport a must-have in your driveway? And I think absolutely. You know, with the Pilot in the past, it was really just a more practical and more conducive vehicle for a family than the CR-V. But now we have another dimension added on to that for this crossover. I think what we're gonna start looking at more importantly in the future, whether it is the Pilot or the Passport, this vehicle is going to be very versatile, but also it's going to be more than one dimensional. And that's why I think that this crossover is a great alternative to the 4Runner, the Highlander, and others out there in this price range. But also with the Pilot now being built on this newer platform that it shares with the MDX, it feels SUV-like without compromising on the ride quality and compromising on the fact that this is a crossover. So if you are hopping in from a last generation Pilot, this is going to be a worthy upgrade, but also a vehicle that's not going to feel too foreign to you if you are coming from that older Pilot or CR-V. So in closing, after spending a good amount of time with the 2023 Honda Pilot TrailSport, what are my final thoughts and takeaways for this 3-row crossover? Personally, I think there's a huge leap forward compared to last generation, but also a statement to rivals in this market, because we always looked at Honda as being the safe brand, the reliable and practical vehicle. But now with the TrailSport badge, this opens up a whole new door of possibilities, but also is letting us know that Honda is really serious about drawing in new consumers. Now, I don't feel that the Pilot TrailSport is alienating current buyers in any way, shape, or form. In fact, I think it's going to enhance people's desire to want this vehicle because it is a significant improvement from last generation, not only when it comes to the exterior styling, but also the interior as well. I love the layout, very traditional, but also very easy to use infotainment system, physical buttons on the dashboard. But also what I like too is that this vehicle is very practical. So practical, in fact, I think it is the most spacious crossover we see in this market right now, especially for the cargo area behind the third row seats. But also the fact that you can fit average size adults in the third row, that's fantastic and very rare to see in this segment. Also, of course, the way this vehicle drives and performs on the roadways, sure, the all-terrain tires does change things up a bit. However, it has a nice demeanor on the roadways, and I feel as though the TrailSport is perfect for on-road driving, but also going off-road as well. And that's why I feel the Honda Pilot TrailSport is going to be a highly coveted 3-row crossover in 2023. But also, this is one of the coolest vehicles we've ever seen from Honda in the modern age, even though enthusiasts are going to say the Type R is the coolest car in the lineup. But I think the TrailSport is making a bold statement right now and might be the best vehicle you can buy in the Honda lineup today. So guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more. Also, make sure to follow me on Instagram at Boston Autoblog so you can see what I'm up to and what vehicles I'll be featuring in the future. And I will see you guys next time.